Hi, I'm ECEM.
And I'm DEFNE. Today we're going to talk about synesthesia.
Have you ever said something to a friend or a family member that they thought was really strange, like maybe that a certain song tasted, or that you could see music?
Or that the number 5 is green to you? If so, you may have synesthesia, a neurological condition that scientists are still trying to figure more about it and why it happens.
Synesthesia is a fancy name for when you experience one of your senses through another. For example, you might hear the name Alex and see green, or you might read the word street and taste apple.
Think of it like there are crossed wires in people's brains and their senses are hooked up to each other in weird ways where one sensory source produces another, such as tasting sounds or hearing colors.
The word synesthesia has Greek roots. It translates to perceive together. People who have this ability called synesthetes. Synesthesia is not a disease or a disorder. It won't harm your health and it doesn't make you mentally ill.
Some studies even suggest people who have it may do better on memory and intelligence tests than those who don't. And while it may seem easy to make up, there is proof that it's a real condition.
One of the most common responses is to see letters, numbers, or sounds as colors. You might also feel an object with your hands and hear a sound, see or hear a word and taste food, see a shape and taste food, hear sounds and taste food, hear sounds and see shapes or patterns, feel a touch when someone else being touched.
This is called mirror touch, by the way.
You might have more than one response.
It can also be an annoyance. Children say it can make reading tricky when they see colors that other people don't. If you have taste-related synesthesia, it can be horrible when a bad taste comes on suddenly. But most synesthetes see their condition as a sixth sense, not a drawback.
About 1% to 4% of people thought to have it. We don't know for sure because you may not realize you have it.
Or you may think that everyone senses the same way as you do. The number of people who come forward may go up because more and more people are talking about synesthesia in these days.
Now we are going to talk about symptoms of synesthesia. 1. You can't control it. The response happens right away, you can't help it. This is true even with new experiences. For example, if you hear a new piece of music, you might see a color or taste a flavor without any effort. It just happens.
2. It's internal mostly. Most synesthetes only see their colors, the colors in their minds, not outside their body.
3. It often starts in childhood. Studies of kids with synesthesia found that it develops over time. The color and letter associations may be random at first but become more fixed as you grow.
4. It stays the same over time. If you see the letter A in green today, you'll probably see it in green 10 years from now. One study asked people with synesthesia to look at 100 words and say the color they saw for each. A year later, researchers gave the participant the test again without telling them ahead of time. The answers matched more than 90% of the time. Answers from people without synesthesia taken just 2 weeks after the first test matched only 20% of the time.
Causes of synesthesia. Doctors are not sure, but they think people with synesthesia are just wired differently from the rest of us. For example, scans of people who say they hear colors show that they have bigger brain response when they hear a sound.
The images also show synesthetes have more connection between the parts of the brain that control their senses. Also, it's in your genes. Synesthesia appears to run in families and may be passed down from parent to child.
Types of synesthesia. There are 2 major groups of synesthetes. One is called projective, where the person hears, smells, tastes, or feels a second sense and where it's projected in front of you. For example, tasting blueberries when you hear a specific piano note.
The second is associative, meaning that they have a connection between a stimulus and a sense, but only associated in their minds, not directly experience it. With the example above, where the first group actually tastes blueberries by hearing a certain note, someone in the second group would just have an association between the note and blueberries. In other words, that note would remind them or make them think of blueberries.
Of course, someone could belong to a mix of both of these groups.
So we've come to the part where we're going to read it out loud for you, but if you want, you can follow it with your eyes. I see moving images in my head in accordance to what people are saying to me. When someone's talking, I am being bombarded with sensations, images, textures, temperatures, and tastes. Some words are very cold and I have a cold sensation in my throat. Some are warm or have no temperature at all. The words often have a shape which I can almost physically feel. The word Plymouth is very cold, it's teardrop shaped but it has no taste. The name Leonard is a chocolate lime sweet which has been kept in the fridge for a long time. The word love is the taste and texture of foam strawberries that I haven't eaten since I was a child. When a guy at my work says the word month, I taste grains to meat apples. When someone talks about a source of information, I see a huge big cauldron with a massive wooden pallet spoon, like the ones they used to stir the laundry many years ago. It has a dark, thick liquid in it and it is being steered in a clockwise direction. This only happens for a source of information. It never happens if someone talks about a sauce, such as ketchup. There are certain words that feel violating when someone says them. I won't list them as I can't stand it and it makes me feel like I am being invaded. My girlfriend knows not to say any of these words around me or in a certain context as I get really upset.
Some people's accents and voices make my skin crawl, and when they say certain words, I want to scream. I have actually had to avoid some wonderful people as I find their voice or accent just too much to handle. During a conversation with someone, I may have 50 or 60 images, sensations, tastes, textures, etc. pop into my brain and my senses in the space of just a few minutes. It doesn't happen with everyone, and I don't experience it when I read words, only when they are spoken. But I didn't realize it until very recently that my mom also has a form of synesthesia. Hers is differently from mine, and it was only when we were discussing it that she informed me that the bottom of my door was playing a concert I heard. She sees music and hears music and colors from everyday objects and words. I don't fully understand how hers work, as I haven't asked her, but I would be interested to find out, and if my brother has also. Every day is a bombardment of senses for me, but it does conversations interesting. As I mentioned before, I had no idea that everyone didn't experience the world like this, and because that's all I have ever known, I can only imagine the life and spoken word would be pretty boring without it.
How to use synesthesia for your own good. According to psychology professor Bert Brogat, who has the condition herself, you can teach yourself some tricks for learning it by associating two different things together. But of course it takes practice and patience. Once you start associating two things together, you start to build new narrow pathways in the brain.
If you learn associate colors with something else, that can help you remember colors more easily than other things. You can use meditation or practice of mindfulness to help you perceive and experience synesthesia.
Okay, now it is our turn to discuss about this stuff. So we've made two color palettes that we think the school subjects gives the vibes of.
This is hers and this is mine. They kind of look alike, but mine is more darker than DEFNE's and chemistry is different.
So we think the school subjects look like this. We also think that 7 times 7 equals 49 feels like Thursday, while 6 times 6 equals 36 feels like Wednesday. You probably saw it in social media.
DEFNE gives the vibe of Tuesday, I give the vibe of Friday, Aslı, a friend of ours, gives the vibe of Sunday, and ZEYNEP, another friend, gives the vibe of Thursday. We discussed this at school.
So apparently this is us.
We give these vibes. I think that Dirty Dancing movie smells like sausage. When I was watching it, I always smelled sausage, and I really don't know why. I wasn't eating anything.
But I think her neighbor was cooking sausage. So.
I don't think so.
So I was giving this presentation to my family, and my father suddenly said that Kayahan's songs smell like sana oil. So if you agree, you can write.
Okay, so we have another palette here.
So again, we were discussing this stuff, and apparently this is our colors. And now it is your time to answer these questions.
You can write these answers in the
comment section.
Yes.
What color is Matt's?
Are there any movies that you can taste? I do.
What color is chemistry? What color is number 1? And
do you experience any other sense like this?
We would really appreciate your comments and answers. We would really like to see them. Thank you for listening, guys.
We hope you enjoyed our presentation.